So hello to everyone, good afternoon or good morning, depending where you're connecting from. Tell me in the chat session where you're connecting, and I don't know what time is it there. We can give a few minutes to the other who signed to the webinar and still have not connected. So maybe we can wait just a few seconds. So this is the second webinar of the series, and this is the second and the last webinar of the series. So also let me know in the chat session if you already attended the first one. I see that maybe I don't know if if I read your name correctly, Lice. I think that you were also in the first webinar, so correct me if I'm wrong. The others I do not remember. Still, let me see. Yes, so yes, okay, you were connected also in the first webinar. Where are you connecting from, Lice? And let me know. And maybe let me know as well what if you enjoyed the first webinar, if you did participate to others or whatever. Sao Brazil, no, Sao Paulo in Brazil. Okay, okay. So it's kind of morning there. Okay, fantastic. So yes, I think that a few other people connected. So maybe I can leave the word to. I can give the screen to Tommaso, and he will start explaining his relation. So are you ready, Tommaso?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so for those of you who are connected, we will give the recording of this webinar. So you will receive an email with the indication on where to go and take those videos. So I will be I will turn off my webcam and my audio, so I will not disturb. And but if you have any question, I will remain back in the I don't know, in the background.
Okay, good afternoon and good morning at this point. I'm Tommaso Frioni. I'm working here at the Cattolic University of Sacred Heart. Today we speak about biodiversity, okay, and local grape varieties. Why? Because climate change is changing a little bit the scenario where viticulture was played in the last decades. And so maybe new tools are needed today, given the problems found in many wine districts wherever in the world, in the Mediterranean basin, like in new viticulture areas. So a quick introduction to Valore in Vitis. Valore in Vitis is a 3-year project funded by the Rural Development Plan of Emilia-Romagna region, focused on biodiversity and focused on the Colli Piacentini area. The main aim of the project is finding new solutions for the viticulture to improve its sustainability and its competitiveness. This because we will see it later why. The coordinator of the project is Professor Stefano Poni, Catholic University of Sacred Heart. The project is close to its end because it's ending in early January, and it's based on different actions. These are the actions. For the ones of you that followed the previous seminar, the previous webinar, we focused about the new pathogen-resistant cultivars. These are new cultivars spread, but today we are focusing on something different. We are focusing on local native cultivars. Native cultivars are those cultivars in Italy or in the Mediterranean that have been adapted through the centuries to the environmental conditions of specific districts in Europe, I would say, or wherever they developed. For example, Italy has a huge heritage of local cultivars. This because of its environmental condition, the orography, the the dimension and the different climatic conditions of the district, the different wine district across Italy, but it's the same in Spain, in Greece. And then we focus on some other new cultivars bred for specific purposes. So we'll see it one by one later. Why biodiversity and why speaking about local cultivars and native cultivars and autochthonous cultivars? First of all, the autochthonous cultivar and local cultivars are the key to wine quality and identity in most of all the viticulture wherever in the world. Well, you know that all the PDO, the appellation systems are mainly focused on some genotypes. This is the case of especially in Europe, especially in Italy, where some specific high quality wines, for example, if we mention wines like Barolo and Barbaresco that are based on a specific autochthonous cultivar of Piemonte like Nebbiolo, or we can think to other kind of production like Prosecco, for example. Prosecco is a kind of wine that is conquering the world, and the numbers of Prosecco are growing every season, every year, and it's based Prosecco on a local cultivar called Glera. The same can be said for the Lambruschi. You know, Lambrusco is based on some genotypes called Lambrusco Salamino, Lambrusco, different kind of a set of genotypes, but all of them local and native of that region. So given maybe different kind of wines, very different among them, the local cultivars used to produce them are one of the factors that characterize the wines and characterize at the end the terroir used to the terroir where the wines are produced. Now, we have to say that most of Italian PDOs, appellation, are born actually in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, depends by the specific wine, under environmental conditions that are different than the ones that we have today. How these wines were built? They were built mainly based on the selection the choice of some cultivars among the genotypes that were available in a district. For example, if we make the example of the Colli Piacentini area, which is the site where the wine district where Valori in Vitis is localized, we know that there were many cultivars before the definition of the DOC area, and later in the DOC area only 2 of these cultivars, 2 white grapes cultivar and 2 red grapes cultivar, were selected to make most of the wines in the appellation. The others became more marginal every year. They were not replanted after when vineyards were pulled and replanted, but the cultivars chosen were just the 2 inside the appellation, or maybe some international cultivar. International cultivars are maybe French cultivars like the most known Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, or Pinot Noir, or Chardonnay among the white genotypes. So most of the native cultivars that were not selected into the DOC can be today very close to disappear. Maybe they can be present on few vines in the entire district. So why today we want, with Valori in Vitis, we are aiming at broadening and focusing new attention to the native local minor cultivars, because the main cultivars, the 2 selected, as I said before, they are a little bit they're a little bit not so suitable for anymore for the production of the wines traditionally produced in the district. In the Colli Piacentini, traditionally the wine is sparkling. Today, the white wines are, most of the white wines are still sparkling, or maybe made are made in a spumante, sparkling wines. And the two most used genotypes of the DOC are Ortrugo and Malvasia di Candia aromatica. Ortrugo is the one in the picture, okay, here, that you can see it's a very productive cultivar, but has the problem of acidity. You know, to produce sparkling wines, to produce spumante, is very important to have a good acidity at harvest. Ortrugo has a very early ripening and has this problem that cannot maintain the acidity at a good level to the harvest. This is a big problem that is very, I mean, it's increasing every season with climate change, because organic acids, which are the base of the acidity, are sensible to temperatures. They are degraded through a process called respiration, which is driven by temperatures. Okay, so with warming trends, it's every year more difficult to have a good acidity at harvest. On the side of Ortrugo, there is Malvasia di Candia aromatica, which is another cultivar with the same problems, because it cannot maintain a good acidity. And maybe few hectares of different cultivars, like national cultivars like Trebbiano, so maybe much more common also in other sites, another district, this wine district of Italy, or maybe international cultivar like Marsanne, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay among the white wines. What is the aim of the specific action of our project? Is to understand if some of the native secondary minor cultivars can be today re-evaluated in this climate change scenario. Specifically, we focused on white grapes that could maintain the acidity and have a low sugars to acidity ratio at harvest for the white grapes, whereas for the black grapes we focused maybe on the efficiency in the anthocyanins accumulation and the phenolic maturity. All these genotypes need to have a good productivity, a good yield, because today I mean, it's very important that to guarantee the sustainability of the process, that these cultivars can be productive and maybe suitable to the modern viticulture. Modern viticulture means maybe mechanization, so with a good fertility of basal buds. That means in turn the suitability to mechanization of pruning. We did this evaluation of local minor cultivar in an experimental vineyard located in Ziano Piacentino, here in the hills. We had 20 white grapes cultivar found in the region. All these genotypes are more or less marginal genotypes. Most of them are not listed in the national varieties catalog, the national varieties database, so cannot be cultivated actually, if not for experimental or non-commercial purposes. And we have Ortrugo in the collection as a referment. Among the black grapes cultivar, we had 10 genotypes found in the region, like the white ones. More we have Ervi. Ervi is a crossing that was obtained here at the Catholic University of Sacred Heart in the 70s, crossing the two red grapes cultivar of the district. Barbera and Crotina are used to make the Gutturnio, to produce Gutturnio, the red wine, DOC red wine of the Colli Piacentini. And both Barbera and Crotina have some problems. Barbera is very productive, but it's very sensitive to sunburn, for example, or however, it can have some problems in some specific years in the balance between sugars and acidity. On the other side, Crotina has the big problem of basal bud fertility, and the yield can be very low in some specific seasons. So Ervi was obtained as a cultivar that could solve the problems of the two parents, we can say like that. We will see. We will talk about this later in the detail. What we found that first of all, describing a little bit Ortrugo, which is our white grapes cultivar, which is the most common cultivar of the district. It's a productive cultivar, we can see. Has a very good yield, a good yield that is maybe composed by a fertility which is not high, because Ortrugo has a fertility of 1 inflorescence per shoot, more or less, slightly lower, with not a high number of bunches per vine. We can see it also in the picture, but with this big cluster, okay, very compact and full, we can say. The productivity at the end is very good, the productivity of Ortrugo. On the other side, its main problem, as we said before, is the malic acid at harvest. Malic acid and tartaric acid are very low at harvest. This is a problem to produce the sparkling wines. This is a problem to produce white fresh wine, especially because good acidity levels are present in Ortrugo only early in the season, when maybe the sugars are still low. So it's very challenging to obtain good grapes at harvest with this cultivar. We make the focus on some minor genotypes we found in the district, okay, in the collection. The first one is Barbesino. Barbesino is a local cultivar found in Valtrebbia area, which is one of the Trebbia is one of the main river of the site of the district. Barbesino produces very in a similar way than Ortrugo. Okay, it does not produce less than Ortrugo. The percentage on the side of every parameter is the difference, the percentage difference to Ortrugo. And when we have the red, means that it's lower than Ortrugo. When it's blue, it's higher than Ortrugo by 71%. For example, Barbesino is producing much more bunches per vine than Ortrugo, but much smaller, we can say, with a lower weight. So at the end, the combination of these two factors produces a similar yield to Ortrugo, given by an higher average fertility. But what is interesting is the composition of this cultivar. Why? Because Barbesino has a sugar accumulation which is very similar to the ones of Ortrugo. We can see here that in 2017, which is a very hot year, and this is something interesting because was the most challenging year to produce white fresh wine and sparkling wines. The sugar accumulation was very similar between these two genotypes, but the acidity not. The acidity was always higher in Barbesino than in Ortrugo. What does it mean? That Barbesino is probably one of it's a very good cultivar to improve the Ortrugo wines. We can see in this graphs how the acidity of Barbesino, which is the upper one, is always higher than Ortrugo, given the amount of sugars in the grape. Okay, we have always an higher acidity than Ortrugo. The same can be said for Molinelli. A good yield, given arising from a very good fertility of basal buds and of median and apical buds. Higher number of bunches per vine, but a much lower bunch weight than Ortrugo. At the end, the productivity is the same, but again, the acidity is much higher than Ortrugo. We can see at harvest. The evolution of the parameters is slightly different because Molinelli is accumulating more sugars than Ortrugo during ripening, but it's maintaining better acidity at the early stages of ripening, and then on the last part of ripening. The ratio between sugars and acidity is overall similar to the one seen and described for Barbesino. Okay. but given the different evolution of ripening, Molinelli can be used to make kind of a different use, because if for purpose Barbesino can be used to improve the acidity of Ortrugo, which is low, Molinelli maybe can be used to improve the sugars content of Ortrugo. What does it mean? If I make my harvest when Ortrugo has a good level of acidity, blending it with Molinelli, okay, can make it possible to increase a little bit the sugar, because the problem with Ortrugo that the acidity level suitable for the production of sparkling wines occur with a very low sugars. It's an inadequate sugars content to produce a wine. So maybe Molinelli can be one of the cultivars that can be used to improve the mast composition, which is one of the most interesting and promising aspects is the fact that these two cultivars maintain a better malic acid than Ortrugo, an higher malic acids of Ortrugo across all the ripening, especially in Barbesino. This is important because it's the malic acid what we want to maintain in the grapes to produce sparkling wines. It's the most desired organic acid in the specific production of sparkling wines. There is another, passing to the non-white grapes cultivar, a good and interesting and promising cultivar for the production of a different kind of wine is Malvasia rosa. Malvasia rosa is a mutation of Malvasia di Candia aromatica, which is one of the two main white grapes cultivar in the wine district appellation. But this mutation made the skin of this specific cultivar white pink, because of the accumulation of cyanidin and peonidin, essentially, which are the anthocyanins related to the pink and violet color, but not all these kind of anthocyanins that confer red, blue, and deep blue, black color. So this is the reason why Malvasia rosa, which means pink, has this coloration, and this coloration comes together with a terpenic profile, which is very interesting, and a terpenic profile, a terpenic aromatic profile, together with a pink coloration, something very unique. Okay, it's not so common. There are, I think, very few genotypes that have this kind of configuration. So it can be used to produce a very unique kind of wines. Among the red grapes, there were few red grapes that were very efficient in the accumulation of anthocyanins. This is the case of Duraguzza, of Fruttano, and especially of Erbi. We can see here the specific accumulation of anthocyanins in relation to the sugars. Okay, so this cultivar, especially Duraguzza, is the most effective in producing color in relation to the sugars. This is a very good character today for the production of red wines, because especially if we compare to the main red grapes cultivar of the district, Crotina has a good coloration, but Barbera sometimes has a weak color and weak chromatic profile to confer to the wines. Ervi is surely the most interesting, because Ervi was selected and bred with the purpose of improving the two parents, Barbera and Croatina. Barbera is very productive. This is not Barbera, this is Ervi. But Croatina not. Croatina has the big problem of the fertility on the basal buds. Okay, and here we can see a vine of Ervi with a very good basal bud fertility. It means a lot of clusters in this portion where Croatina instead has a lot of problems in producing grapes on these basal buds. So you can understand how Ervi is very good in this, in producing grapes from the basal buds. We can see it here in comparison with Crotina and Barbera. Okay, the G connects means Crotina trained at Guyot, Hervey trained at Guyot, Hervey trained as Spur Cordon with CS, and Barbera trained as Guyot and Spur Cordon. Okay, so we can see that the fertility as inflorescences per shoot of Hervey is very similar to the ones found in Barbera, so a very good fertility. On the contrary, Crotina exhibit the lower fertility of the basal buds, and Hervey showed also a good basal bud fertility, so a suitability to spur pruning. It means that Hervey can be suitable for the mechanization of pruning and of pruning, and to the training to be trained to spur pruning. What is most interesting that independently by the training system, Hervey is very efficient in accumulating anthocyanins. We can see here the progressive accumulation of anthocyanins of Barbera in blue and in orange, okay, in light blue and orange. We can see Crotina, which is a cultivar that have better color than Barbera in blue. Okay, this is Crotina, as expected, having better color, but Hervey, independently by the training system, Spur Cordon, Guyot, or double Guyot, exhibited a very, very good and progressive accumulation of anthocyanins, higher than the two parents. This is something of special interest, especially because we see the total phenolics progression, okay, in the grapes. We can see again that Barbera is maybe the cultivar having the lower content of phenolic substances, but Hervey being lower than Crotina. What does it mean? Crotina has the problem that thus in some specific year can produce some rug tannins. Rug tannins are the compounds that are responsible for astringency, okay, some undesired sensation of astringency in the mouth, in the wines. So why Crotina has this high phenolic content in relation to a lower anthocyanin content? It means that probably the anthocyanin to phenolic ratio is lower than in Hervey. Hervey has a very, very high concentration of anthocyanins in relation to the total phenolic pool contained in the grapes. This is a very good profile, very good trait for a black grapes cultivar today, because it means that it's very suitable for the high quality production, and phenolic ripening can have some desired traits. Moreover, Hervey is very efficient in accumulating anthocyanins also in relation to the sugars. We can see that at the sugar level between 22 and 26 bricks, 24 bricks, we can say, okay, where the harvest of a red grapes cultivar normally is executed. Okay, we have Hervey, which is the best genotypes accumulating color. Finally, an aspect which is of primary relevance when speaking about biodiversity and the valorization of cultivars. In Europe, and specifically in Italy, a genotype to be cultivated commercially needs to be listed in the national catalog, national list of cultivar, and then in the regional list of cultivar. This means that if a local cultivar found in the region is not listed in these two catalogs, can't be cultivated if not for personal use, okay, if not cannot be used commercially. What does it mean? That it's essential to assess the genetic identity of these cultivars to be correctly and evaluated, because some of them we have seen that are very interesting for different maybe traits. We have Barbesino and Molinelli, for example, that can be used to improve the white wines of the district in our case. or we have some red grapes cultivar that can be used, but they need to be, their identity need to be clarified, and this is executed through a DNA analysis. This is executed through some markers, okay, molecular markers, and the correspondence of their profile to profile of all the genotypes listed on some databases can tell us if these genotypes are maybe known on other sites, on other regions with a different name, maybe. This is the case, for example, for Cannonau in Sardinia. Cannonau is the main red cultivars of Sardinia, and with the last technology, it's been possible to understand that Cannonau is the same cultivar that in other in Spain is known as Alicante, or it's known as also as Grenache. It means that genetically it's the same cultivar, but known in a different, known with a different name in different sites, in different regions. What does it mean? That Cannonau probably is a clone of this genotype, okay? Like Alicante is the Spanish clone of this genotype. We did the same with our cultivars to understand if they are maybe known wherever in the world with other names. It came out what it's described in these tables. Okay, so the most interesting output is that Bervedino, which is one of the white grapes cultivar found in the district, is a synonym for Vernaccia di San Gimignano, the most known Vernaccia di San Gimignano in Tuscany, and used to make high quality wines actually in Tuscany. So probably Bervedino is a biotype, we can say an ecotype of Vernaccia di San Gimignano adapted to the Colli Piacentini sites. This can be can be of special interest and can produce some kind of consideration. Today, Bervedino is actually listed in the national catalog and in the regional catalog, and it's actually used to produce some wines together with other cultivars. But it was not known that it was a synonym for Vernaccia di San Gimignano. Similarly, Calora resulted to be a synonym for Cortese, or Duraguzza was resulted to be a synonym for Mornasca, which is another local cultivar cultivated in a region close by the Colli Piacentini. Okay, so maybe it's a cultivar that changed the name on the other side of the border, of the regional border. We did this comparison using two different databases. We didn't find any synonym for Barbesino, which is our main focus, because Barbesino is given the good acidity level in comparison to the sugar, and having a very similar sugars accumulation to Ortrugo, as we have seen before. It's very interesting for us for the improvement of the Ortrugo of the Colli Piacentini wines. This because in the appellation system there is a 10%, 20% of grapes to produce the Colli Piacentini, Ortrugo and Colli Piacentini wines that can be something different than Ortrugo. So it maybe, for instance, can be used Barbesino to improve the Ortrugo wines, but we didn't find at the first screening any coincidence between Ortrugo and other genotypes. But we knew from the literature that there are some hypotheses about the identity of Barbesino and Spergola. Spergola is another regional cultivars cultivated in Reggio Emilia. So we sampled some Spergola in the Reggio Emilia district, and we found some identity, some coincidence between the profile of our Barbesino and one of the Spergola, okay, found in Reggio Emilia. What does it mean? That probably in Reggio Emilia, the other not, as we can see, other Spergola did not coincide with the profile of Barbesino. What does it mean? That probably there are more Spergola, more cultivars, or maybe more more different genotypes known with the name Spergola. This is something known because maybe it was used to call Spergola, Spargola, Spergolina, Spergola Vecchia, different kind of grapes. So the hypothesis is that there are more than one Spergola in Reggio Emilia, and one of these is the synonym for Barbesino. But of course, we need some more clarification about this, not only about Barbesino that we know by now the profile, but maybe on the Spergola to understand correctly what are the chances to improve the valorization, to have some valorization of Barbesino. At the same time, we found a list of cultivars that are not present in any other databases and have no synonyms. What does it mean? That these genotypes are unique, okay? And if are cultivated only on few vineyards, they are very exposed to be lost. I mean, there's a high risk that they are going to be lost. This is the case, for example, of Molinelli. Molinelli is present actually on probably few vines just in our experimental vineyards and not in other vineyards in the district. So this is the maintenance of this biodiversity is something that it's very important for us because today maybe Barbesino can be useful. This means that probably in 20-30 years we don't know what will be the environmental conditions, and some other cultivars today maybe not so interesting, maybe not so promising, can become promising. So the maintenance of biodiversity is something very important given our 3-year results. Concluding, what does it mean? That in a climate change scenario, our results suggest that in a climate change scenario, some minor and maybe discarded cultivars in the past can today have a new valorization, a new spread. This is already happening in other districts. It's happening, for example, in Franciacorta, where Herbamat, a local minor cultivar, entered today in the Franciacorta appellation on the side of Chardonnay and Pinot Gris and Pinot Noir and Pinot Blanc. Why? Because Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Pinot Blanc have the same problem, more or less, of Ortrugo, have a very early ripening and not good maintenance of acidity. On the contrary, Herbamat is very good in maintaining acidity. Since 2017, Herbamat is officially inside the appellation of Franciacorta on the side of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and 10% of Herbamat can be added to produce Franciacorta. What does it mean? That probably other districts like Colli Piacentini, but others in wherever in the world can maybe find in the biodiversity new resources and new tools to face the negative effects of climate change. Unexpressed value of these native cultivars needs to be tested and clarified genetically. This is of primary importance. We are going to follow this evaluation because Valorivitis is closing, but there is high interest in the district to follow this way. So the work will be on progress, even if the project is concluding, and we will see maybe in the future some of these genotypes can be part of our wines and improve the sustainability and the competitiveness of our wines, and maybe can be a good way and a useful way for other districts too. I would leave now I would leave the space for I don't know if there are questions or not.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Tommaso. Again, you were very clear. So if anyone has any question, you can write them in the section. You just have to click on the orange arrow, and it will open the chat. You just type there, and I will read them to Tommaso. So for the one who connected later, we will be sending very soon, I guess, the recording of this webinar to you. So even if you missed the beginning of the webinar, you can go back and see it. So yes, I think that maybe we can close the webinars. I think that you were very clear, Tommaso. So
Sure.
I do thank you, and I thank the guys who connected and paid attention, and
Thank you very much to all.
And
to everybody.
yeah, and have a great holiday and Happy New Year. So thank you very
Same
much.
to everybody.
Okay, Elias say that he would like to congratulate to you for the amazing and enlightening presentation. So thank you very much, Elias.
Sorry. There are some. It's a very regional project. Okay, but maybe it's just an example how viticulture can be and biodiversity can be useful today, and that cultivars needs to be tested every probably I don't know depending by environmental and economic change can be tested and rearranged in a district every 30 years.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, Tommaso. Again, you were fantastic, and have a good holiday season and Happy New Year. Goodbye.
Bye.